So the new M1 Apple processors have been getting a ton of hype. There's been a lot of great reviews for them, and so I decided to pick up a new Apple M1 Mac Mini. Now I've been using this machine for about 3 weeks. I have some thoughts on it, and hopefully in this short video I can summarize all of the great things and not so great things about this device and give my personal recommendation on whether or not I think you should buy one in 2021. With that said, let's dive in. So I picked up a new M1 Mac Mini about 3 weeks ago. The configuration I went with had 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of SSD storage. It ran me about 1,650 Canadian dollars. Now comparing that to the base model has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of SSD storage, and starts at 900 Canadian dollars. So these machines are pretty affordable, especially if you're comparing them to their PC counterparts, and the level of performance that you're getting here for this price is actually very, very good. At kind of first glance, if I'm giving you my initial impressions from using this machine, I would recommend it to about 80 to 90% of people, unless you have some specific use cases, which I'll discuss in this video. So to really summarize this machine, I kind of have 3 words: fast, new, and silent. Now, when I say this machine is fast, what I really mean is it's extremely responsive. When you are using this device, it feels just like using an iPhone or using an iPad. When you open an app, it opens instantly. When you close an app, it closes instantly. When you're dragging things around, when you're doing some kind of light work, everything is just happening super fast, genuinely faster than what's even happening on my like $10,000 big gaming PC that I have here that I'm recording this video on. So this computer feels super fast, and for anyone who's doing just kind of average work on your computer, maybe you're in an Excel spreadsheet, maybe you're doing some word processing, maybe you're reading email or on Safari, this is going to feel like the fastest computer you've ever used, especially if you haven't used an M1 Mac Mini before. Now, when it comes to sheer processing power, doing things like rendering and other performance heavy applications, I haven't tested this machine too much. It seems to be about on par with my old MacBook Pro 16-inch, which had an i7 6-core processor in it. So it's not like you're getting crazy, crazy performance out of this processor here. It's just that when you're doing the light work and you're doing kind of your average day-to-day tasks on this machine, it's super fast, super responsive, and just feels great. It's just really nice to work on, really satisfying, and really the best way I can kind of explain it is just to compare it to the experience you get when you use something like an iPhone or an iPad. Again, I can't talk too much about the sheer performance when you get into applications where you're doing video editing, rendering, audio processing, and all of that. But from my experience, it's been about on par with the last generation 2016 MacBook Pro, again, that had that i7 processor in it. But that computer is about 2 times the price of this one right here. And so the next point that I had here is that this machine is silent. Now, when I say that, I mean that literally. I have yet to hear this device. It makes such a low sound that I quite literally cannot hear anything unless I stick my ear right to the back of the IO, and even then I can hardly hear any sound whatsoever. Now, one of the reasons why this device is able to run so quietly to the point where I'm literally calling it silent is because it draws so little power. I think the TDP of this entire machine is about 35 to 40 watts. Now, to put that in comparison, a computer with this processing power that was a PC, say you were to build this yourself, would probably be drawing at minimum 200 watts under load. This device under full load is not drawing more than 35 to 40 watts, at least according to Apple. And that's one of the reasons it's able to stay so quiet, is it's just taking in way less energy. So it's producing way less heat. And that way the fan can stay at a very consistent low level and it doesn't rev up. I haven't heard it. And this is one of the number one assets for me because I'm in kind of a studio environment here. My old Mac that I used to use to process all of my audio would rev the fan up really loud. And it was really annoying and it would kind of be picked up on my microphone as background noise. And so this thing is great. And one of the reasons why I bought it was because I heard about the volume of it. And I was like, I need to try this. I want something silent. And well, it has not disappointed. So that's something to note. Completely silent device. That's just one of the biggest factors for me and why I'm mentioning it. And I think probably one of the most underrated factors or things mentioned about these M1 processors, not to mention the extremely low power draw. So now moving on to the last point, which is new. Now, at the beginning of the video, when I said new doesn't necessarily mean a good thing, I meant that. And the reason for that is that these chips are just so new. If you're unaware, these M1 processors are running a brand new architecture. This is an ARM architecture that's similar to what's running on your iPhone or your iPad. Now, there's a ton of benefits in this architecture, like you can run iOS apps or iPad apps natively now on your Mac operating system. If you're an iOS developer, this is probably going to be a really big deal for you, and these machines are going to be great. But if you're working with a lot of software that's maybe older software, that's Intel based, that doesn't get updated that frequently, or that has not yet been optimized for the M1 Mac, you are going to see a performance penalty, and you may actually see some things that don't work at all with this M1 processor. So the reason for this is whenever you design software, you kind of have to design it based on a certain architecture. And while most of the software out there for Mac is designed for an Intel architecture and has not yet been updated, and that means if you want to run this software on your Mac, you need to install something called Rosetta. Now, in all credit to Mac, or to Apple, I guess, they make it super simple to install this Rosetta software. It's literally a one-click thing. The first time you try to open an Intel application, it prompts you to install Rosetta. And anyways, what Rosetta will do is take this Intel-based software and translate it into something that your M1 chip can understand. However, this does cost you, as I said, about 50% performance penalty. Now, that's a rough estimate. It's going to change based on the application that you're using. But if you are using an application that is not built natively for M1, expect it not to perform to the same level as anything that obviously has been optimized for that chip. Now, as I said, this also means there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work on M1 processors. For example, I have a ton of plugins for my audio recording in Logic Pro, which is like an audio software on Mac, and a bunch of those plugins just do not work at all. I had to go through a ton of crazy workarounds. It took me about 5 hours the first time I got this machine to get this working because they just were not compatible with the new M1 architecture. So one thing you guys really need to make sure you look out for if you're buying this computer is that the software you use and you rely on is actually going to operate on it. So make sure you do some research, make sure you look into if this software actually works properly on the M1 and if you can live with that kind of performance penalty that you're going to get because of the fact that this is just so new and that companies have not yet had time to kind of transfer all of their software over to this new M1 architecture. So really, that's going to wrap up my thoughts on this new M1 processor. Obviously, this is not a full review. I could talk about this for hours. I just wanted to give you guys a quick summary and hopefully hit on some of the key points, some of the selling points, and drawbacks of this device. To give you a quick summary here, this is fast, super responsive, speedy, and in my opinion, probably one of the best value computers of 2021, especially if you're someone who's just an average user, does some light work. Like I said, you're using, Excel, Word, Mail, Google, whatever. But you do have to be wary that a lot of software does not run on this computer. It's going to cause you a lot of headaches, or if it does run, it's going to run at a performance penalty due to the fact it needs to be translated to the new M1 architecture. Lastly, the power draw of this computer is ridiculously low. It is absolutely silent, one of my favorite parts about the machine. And with that said, I'm going to wrap up the video here. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in another YouTube video.